Hey everybody, welcome to our channel Kono Pro. If you're wondering what you're looking at right there, it's a tiny little storage house and it's for the back of my truck. And you can build this and you can throw it in the back of any work truck or a little trailer, whatever you want to do. But this is basically a tiny little storage house that I built, and it's to carry a bunch of my tools and things like that. And also I sneak in there and I can make some phone calls here and there just to sort of catch a little spot to have a little sneak away place real quick from the work site. And you'll see a little clip of that at the end if you stay tuned all the way through. But in this video, basically we build the whole thing. We go through the whole process. We build a custom door. We build a custom little storage shack. We make it really lightweight. It could literally be slid off and dropped off anywhere. Two people can easily carry it the way we designed it. So stay tuned, watch the video, and hope you enjoy. All right, so what we started off with was a little platform. We had a delivery at the job site, and it was a 3/4 inch piece of plywood with 3 moisture treated 2x4s in the bottom of it. I just went ahead and coated it with some primer, and that's what I use as my platform to build my little storage shack that I use. And this shack is totally insulated. It has a window in the back, double insulated window in the back, and we also built a custom window right there with a custom door. And we throw a really cool roofing material membrane on the top, and we design it with it being lightweight, so it can be lightweight in the back of a truck, and it can be pulled off and moved around really quickly as well. So basically we take our measurements and we figure out our pitch for our water runoff, and then we're going to start building it out. That platform that we're using there is a platform that was actually a platform that was used to deliver materials to one of my projects. It was a 3/4 inch piece of plywood with moisture treated 2x4s running below it, and they were really solid and strong, so I figured why not just use this as a platform. So what I'm doing is I'm using 2x2 for my framing, and the reason why I'm using 2x2 is to save space. 2x4 would be too big, and then also for weight. So I wanted to keep the weight down. So we have the 3/4 inch platform, and then we're going to use 2x2 for the framing, and then we're going to use 1/2 inch plywood for the sides and for the back, and then we're going to use 3/4 inch plywood for the front face because we're going to have a door cut out in the front face and a little window. So I wanted to have 3/4 for the front, and in case it's in the back of my truck, tools and materials hit it, it's nice and solid and strong. And then also the roof, we're going to use 3/4 inch plywood. So stay tuned on this video. Hope you enjoy and see how we build this. Alright, so now we have it all built out, and the height we went with was right below our racks, our lumber racks in my truck. So it's approximately 47 inches, I believe, tall. And then we sloped it forward to the front. You can't tell right there because I have a piece of plywood below kicking it up on the bottom, but it's sloped towards the front door so it's aerodynamic when it's in the back of the truck as well. And you can see we used 3/4 inch plywood for the roof and 1/2 inch plywood on the sides. And after we nailed it together with the 15 gauge nail gun, we also countersunk and used moisture treated decorated screws to lock everything together. Now I'm adding some 1x2 trim to finish off that plywood edge for my roof and to give it a little bit of fascia detail. Alright, we're working on our door opening, and then we're going to start working on our custom fixed window opening. So what I did is I cut the door at 24 inches wide, and then I left 2 inches on the bottom, 2 inches on the top for my casing detail. And then I used some 1x3 finger jointed pre-primed pine as my jam stock for the inside of my door opening, and then I case it out, which is some standard casing. And then for the window opening, I'm just going to cut open the window opening, and then I'm actually going to use some 1/2 inch by 2.5 inch select pine and then I'm going to jam the inside of the window out with that. And then I'm going to install a little 3/4 inch by 1/2 inch stop for the plexiglass window that we're going to be putting in. And then once that's done, I can install the window, and then I can put the stop on the outside of the window, and then I'll case out the window as well. So that's what we're doing right here. After I cut open my window opening, I just framed it out with some 2x2 for the framing, and then I used the 1/2 inch by 2.5 inch to jam it out on the inside. Then I'm going to put my stops for my plexiglass window, and then I'm going to use the same casing I used around the door, and I'm going to install it around the window to give that a nice detail. See how it looks? I even primed it all first. You want to prime that stop and paint it white, because you'll be able to see that edge once the window's installed as well. Now we're doing our casing. Once that's done, we'll cut our plexiglass and get that installed. When cutting the plexiglass, you want to use a finished blade and then put it on a piece of plywood. It'll help get a cleaner edge if it cuts through the plexiglass and cuts into the plywood. As well, give it an 1/8 inch gap all around. See, once you have the window in there and it's ready to go, you start installing your exterior stop. And nothing's glued in yet, but once you have your exterior stop all dry fit and ready to go, then you peel off the protective film off that plexiglass, and then you throw in some silicone, which is what I'm going to do right here. Then you install that plexiglass, and then you use that stop that we cut to put on the outside to lock it in, and that really gives it a nice waterproof, secure connection, and it's really strong and nice and solid. We used a paintable silicone to waterproof around the window and get everything sealed up. Alright, window's done. Now we're going to start installing our door here. So what we're going to do is put down some fortified house wrap below our threshold, and then we're going to install our threshold. And once our threshold is installed, we're going to start building our door out. And then we're going to basically build our door out with 2 pieces of 3/4 inch plywood. And this is a custom door. You can make it any size, shape, any way you want. If you do make these doors like this really big, they do start to bow on you and stuff like that. But if you're just going to do a little door like this, it's fine. They stay really nice and solid. So like I said, 2 3/4 inch pieces of plywood that are cut the exact same size. I dry fit them, make sure they work out good. I turn the unfinished side inside, and then I use a strong Loctite all construction adhesive, and that stuff is really strong. It has an instant grip, and then I basically just do what I did there, step on it, and then I use my nail gun. If that is not a 15 gauge, that is a 16 gauge, and I'm shooting 1-inch nails that are going through and locking, and I put quite a bit of the 1-inch nails that locks it all together, keeps it really solid, and you won't have any separation in that door at all. Used a piano hinge to install the door, and then we use a door jig just to drill out our hole for our standard doorknob. Also install a door jamb weather strip kit as well as a door stop. Now we're masking everything off to get ready for the painting. So what we're going to do is we're going to caulk in all of our joints and all of our seams, make sure everything's sealed with caulking, and then we're going to go through and use a spray kills primer and spray all of our trim boards and joints just to get in between all the cracks really well. And then we're going to go through and actually roll on a Kills primer as well. A really nice heavy coat to seal everything really well. And then after that, we're going to use a semi-gloss finish paint, and we're going to install 2 coats of that on all of the walls and the roof as well. We put 2 coats on the roof as well, and we're also going to use a waterproofing as a roofing material on the roof too. So stay tuned to see how that comes out. Alright, now that I have all of the painting done, now I'm going to waterproof my roof. And instead of using standard roofing because of weight, I decided to use a waterproofing membrane. And you'll see the product I use here in a minute, but basically I tape off all my fascia edges and then I start installing or applying the membrane. And I put 2 really thick coats, and I use a 3/4 inch nap, so it gives a little bit of texture, so I can walk on this too while it's in the back of my truck and I'm loading my truck up and stuff, and I don't want it to be slippery when it's wet, so I wanted to give it a little bit of a texture. So I use a 3/4 inch roller nap. It gives a little bit of a texture, and like I said, I put on 2 really thick coats, let that dry overnight, and then I remove this tape, and then I'm going to paint it with my finished trim color, my gray color, again, so you can see how it looks. You know, it's really cool looking. That color is great, but I'm actually going to paint it again with the finished paint gray, so you can't even see the color difference. And I wanted it to be gray, but you can see there's the product I used. Okay, now we're going to be painting our gray trim, and that's going to give it some really cool detail, and it's also going to match the siding that I install. Unfortunately, I don't have video of me installing the siding, but I do have video of me applying an additional clear coat on the siding. But how I did install the siding was I used some Loctite, put it on the back of each panel, installed it to the wall, and then I just shot it in with some 5/8 galvanized brad nails. And you'll see that here really quickly how it comes out. So that's the way it looks, and I didn't have to put house wrap or anything on the substrate below that because I've pre-primed and painted and sealed all that wood behind that. So all I had to do is install that planking and waterproof it, and it's good to go. Now we're removing all of our masking that we had, and once all the masking's removed, oh yeah, it's going to be the fun part, and we're going to load it in the truck. And like I say, I designed this to be really lightweight, and so it's really easy to load in a truck. And as well, we threw in some 1.5 inch rigid insulation to the interior of the framing and some 1/4 inch Luan, and we also trimmed it out on the interior, and we built a little Murphy drop down shelf on the interior, as well as a little shutter that latches over the inside of this window. So if you have materials or tools in there and it's in the back of your truck and you don't really want it visible, you can keep it more private, and you can shut the little shutter that we put on the inside of this window. Alright, we're all finished and ready to load this into the truck. And you can see the paneling, how I installed it all around that top detail. And if you see that little detail where it's from white to gray, the reason why I have that detail there and it pops out a little bit is because that fits snugly on my truck bed, which you'll see here in a minute when I load it up. Oh yeah, this is the fun part. This is really cool, loading this into the truck. There it goes, slides in perfect fit. It's really lightweight, and it was really cool to build. We had a lot of fun. We used a lot of leftover materials that otherwise would have been thrown away, and it was just a fun project. I used the top for a little plan table. I can lay my blueprints out on there, move that center rack in my lumber rack and put it on the front of my truck where there's a space for it, and then I can use that whole area right there as a little workbench or whatever I need to. It's a really great space. We get a lot of compliments on it, and a lot of people ask, what is that? What is that? Like I say, you can use it for, you know, a little dog house. You can put a doggy door on that door. I use it for mainly a storage little house, my little storage shack, so I can throw my tools in there. And every once in a while, I'll sneak in there and make a little phone call, and maybe eat a little bite of lunch. It's a cool little space. It's fully insulated, so it stays really cool. And it's actually been in some pretty gnarly heat, and it's stayed pretty cool so far. So I hope you enjoy the video. Hope you found some value in this video, and if so, then consider subscribing and give us a like. Thank you. Chrono Pro out.